to the lost Wild West, where every story's carved from dust, blood, and broken hearts. Tonight's tale is about fate, love, and redemption, a story that desert still remembers when the wind blows cold across the plains. This is Cowboy won Apache twin sisters in a card game, never knowing he'd fall in love with one of them. The sun was a dying ember bleeding into the horizon. The saloon of Copper Ridge burned orange with its glow, the kind of light that made men look older and sins look recent. Inside, laughter rattled against whiskey glasses and the heavy stink of sweat. Boulder Kane, known simply as Bo, sat at the corner table, his face quiet, unreadable. His hands moved across cards like someone used to losing things. He didn't care for money anymore, not after the war, not after the fire. But tonight, he played, maybe to forget, maybe to remember. The dealer's hand trembled as he turned the last card. His voice cracked over the noise. "I'm all in. What I've got is worth more than any gold." Bo raised an eyebrow. "What's that supposed to mean?" The dealer swallowed, eyes darting to the shadowy men behind him. Two Apache sisters, twins, taken near the border after a raid, worth a fortune in Yuma. The table went silent. Cards froze in midair. Bo looked at the man for a long moment, the air tightening between them. Finally, he said lowly, "You're betting lives, not cattle." No one spoke. The desert outside howled like a wounded beast. And then, Bo laid down the black ace. He didn't celebrate, didn't even blink. He just stood, collected his hat, and left. Behind him, the chains rattled softly. Two figures followed, barefoot, silent, twin shadows in the dusk. They walked behind him for miles through open desert. The wind was cruel, carrying sand that bit skin and memory alike. Bo didn't look back often, but when he did, he saw two faces, mirror images, yet entirely different. Ayasha, fire in her eyes, her stare sharp enough to cut. Naira, quiet, gentle, eyes filled with something he couldn't name. They never spoke, never begged, never broke. At the ranch, Bo gave them water, bread, blankets. He sat on the porch that night, hands trembling. He'd seen plenty of evil in his life, but realizing he was now part of it cut deeper than any knife. "Tomorrow, I'll set him free," he whispered. But even his own voice didn't believe him. Days passed. The sisters worked silently, spoke in their tongue only to each other. One evening, a storm rose fast from the south, black clouds devouring the sky. Bo ran to the barn, shouting against the wind. Then lightning split the heavens. The sisters' shelter collapsed in a roar of sand and wood. He didn't think. He just ran. By the time he reached them, half the shack had buried them alive. He dug through the dust with his bare hands, pulled one sister free, then the other. When they woke, Naira looked at him, her voice hoarse, fragile. "Why did you help?" He had no answer, just silence and guilt. At dawn, he walked to their door, threw the shackles into the dirt. "You're free." They didn't move. Ayasha turned first, disappearing into the horizon. Naira stayed. Between them, only wind and something that felt dangerously close to trust.
Time stretched like old leather. Bo taught her to brush horses, mend saddles, ride under the wide blue sky. Naira taught him words, old Apache names for stars, rivers, spirits. They spoke little, but their silences began to mean something. One night, Bo found her singing softly near the corral. The moonlight painted her face silver. He stood there, listening, heart unsteady. For the first time, he wasn't sure if he was free or if she was. By summer, they shared laughter, rare, delicate. He carved a small bird from wood and left it by her door. She never said a word, but the next morning, he found a white feather beside his hat. In the desert, that was an answer. The past came back with the thunder of hooves. 5 riders kicking up dust on the horizon, led by Ayasha. Her face was harder now. Behind her rode men wearing iron badges, bountymen, hired law. They dismounted, hands near their holsters. "You freed her," Ayasha said. "They say she's stolen property, that you stole her." Bo's eyes didn't flinch. "I don't own anyone." Then, everything happened at once. One man shouted, a gun went off. The desert exploded with gunfire and dust. Bo took a bullet to the arm. Naira dragged him behind the barn, eyes blazing. "Stay," she said. Then she stepped into the open, shouting words in Apache that rolled like thunder. The wind fell silent. Even the horses froze. Her voice carried through the storm of dust, fierce, ancient, unyielding. Ayasha lowered her weapon. Her eyes filled. "He didn't take me," Naira said softly. "He found me." The bountymen backed off, shame cutting deeper than bullets. Bo's blood soaked into the sand. He smiled weakly. "I was never meant to win you." Naira pressed his wound, whispering, "You didn't. You found me." The 3 of them, Bo, Naira, and Ayasha, sat in the fading light, the line between captor and captive, gone forever. When the bountymen left, the desert was silent again. Ayasha lingered till sunset, then rode away without a word. Bo and Naira stayed, together. Years passed like wind through canyon stone. Bo grew older, slower, his hands calloused from work, his heart at peace for the first time. He'd built a pen for wild horses, planted corn, and rebuilt the broken barn, the same place where his old life had nearly ended. At night, Naira told him stories by the fire, tales of her people, of stars that were once souls. "Tell me again," he whispered one winter night, "how the stars got their names." She smiled, eyes shimmering. "They were once hearts," she said, "that refused to fade." When his breath left him that winter, it was soft, like the desert wind after rain. Naira buried him beneath the mesquite tree, the same spot where the first chains had fallen. She sang until the dawn broke open across the sky. Then, looking toward the horizon, she whispered, "Love is never owned, only found." And far across the valley, a single hawk rose into the morning light, carrying his name with it. They say the desert keeps no graves, only stories, whispered across the years like dust in the wind. Bo Alder Kane's ranch still stands somewhere beyond Ash Hollow, and when the sun sets red, some swear you can see 2 figures by the fence, one man, one woman, watching the stars come alive. This was The Lost Wild West. Subscribe if you believe every story deserves to be remembered, no matter how much dust it's buried under.